Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard the noise around Google's new image generation model, NanoBanana. It's everywhere. Twitter threads, Discord groups, YouTube breakdowns, people are calling it the most realistic and versatile image AI Google has ever released. But here's the thing. While everyone's busy just generating cool pictures, I wanted to see how far we could actually push NanoBanana in an automated workflow. Not just random images, but an actual automated pipeline that takes your raw product photos, pairs them with a model image, and spits out fully styled, high quality lifestyle shoots automatically. And that's exactly what this workflow does. So, how do we actually build this workflow? It starts off with the N8N form, which is this. And we already submitted this form where you're seeing a product binary file and a model binary file. That data is then passed on to these two nodes. The first node is your Google Upload a File node, which is this one. You're going to go ahead and set up your Google Drive credentials. To do that, just click on Create New Credentials. And if you don't have it set up already, just click on Open Docs and follow the instructions. You're going to leave File and Upload as it is. In the Input Data field name, you're going to add the binary file name as shown over here in this box so that it knows which of the two images it's going to be uploading to Google Drive. Now, let's say that the file name you want to give it is product photo, and from parent drive, just leave it as my drive, and you're going to select the parent folder where you want the images to be uploaded. I've already selected a folder inside my Google Drive, and I'm calling it Automation 2nd September. Super creative. And then the next step is going to be to actually share the file that you uploaded in this node. When you run this node over here, you're going to see, let's wait for it. When you go back to this node, you're going to see all of this data that's been passed on by the previous node. And over here, you're going to select by ID. Everything else is going to stay the same. And you're just going to drag the ID box into this over here. And in permissions, always remember to add permissions. The role is always going to be reader, and the type is always going to be anyone. And we do the same thing for the upload a model node, where we select model over here to tell it which binary file it's uploading to Google Drive. And we select the folder where we want to upload it. Then we share the file. And these two files then go into your merge node so that it's able to combine both pieces of data before passing it on to the next nodes. In the merge node over here, you want to select mode, and then in the mode, you're going to select combine. And in combine by, you want to select all possible combinations. The next node is analyze an image. The analyze an image node is basically used to analyze the product image so that it's able to define the overall vibe of the photo so that it can pass on that data to the AI agent to create a prompt matching the overall product description, its overall mood, as I mentioned, the vibe, and then create a prompt that it can pass on to our AI image generation API. We're using the Ollama chat model because I'm running this locally. You can also use ChatGPT or OpenAI, Claude, whatever language model you want to use. Now, one thing to note here is that, in fact, I'll have to show you this. Let's go ahead and click run so that it actually has data to work with. It's uploading the model file. It's sharing the link, and now it's in analyze image. And the GPT OpenAI is analyzing the image. Oh, that's done. Okay. So in the merge field, you see that it's merged all of the data that we needed. And in analyze image, it came up with content of the description of the product file. The image features a can of sparkling grape soda prominently displayed in slightly indoor setting. This can is mostly glossy, vibrant purple color, etc., etc. Okay, we have that data. Now we want to pass this over to the AI agent to create the prompts. Let's go ahead and do that. And you'll notice inside the AI agent, we gave it a detailed prompt to actually create 4 prompts. So the prompt is to create prompts. Each prompt must include this and this. Constraints are these, and the goal is this. We're telling it that the first image is always the product and the second image is always the model, so that the prompt that it produces knows this information. Now it's gone ahead and created one single output. That isn't great because we need 4 prompts. And the reason we need 4 prompts is because we're creating 4 images, as you see over here. So that's 4 pipelines to create 4 different images. Now, how do I split this one big prompt into 4 smaller prompts? This code node is what we use to do that. What this code node does is basically it takes this output over here and divides it into 4 chunks so that each prompt is its own array. Let's execute this step, and you see that this one output has been divided into 4 prompts. Prompt 1 is refreshing oasis. Prompt 2 is pop culture glamour. Prompt 3 is urban oasis. Prompt 4 is whimsical wonderland. Bring the first image. Now that we have the prompts, we want to start creating images. Let's go ahead and create the first image. So just select the play button on the last node on the first pipeline. That'll kick off the entire workflow over here. But before we do that, I want to show you what it's actually doing. Or should I show you what it did after we run it? Let's do that. Click on play. And now you see that the prompt has gone to our image generation API request. It's waiting, and then it's waiting again. And the reason it's going back and forth is the API is watching for the status of the image. So if the image hasn't been generated yet, it won't move to the next steps. Without this wait node and this watch status node, it's just going to fail. The whole automation will collapse. So this node is one of the most important steps in this entire workflow. And the workflow is complete. So just rerunning through everything that happened, we first sent a request to fal.ai to use the NanoBanana API. And how we do that is we basically go to sign up for fal.ai. So go to fal.ai and sign up, create an account, and then look for NanoBanana. So in the NanoBanana image models that come up, you want to select the NanoBanana edit option. And it gives you something like this. Over here, what we want to do is go to the API section. And these are the API docs that we can follow to create this HTTP request. Now, how we do that is we first need to create a credential. So rather than having to put in your credentials in the open, you can go ahead and select authentication and then go to general credential type, select header auth, and create a new credential. Over here is just going to ask you to put a name and value. In name, you put authorization, and in value, what you do is you go to your dashboard and you look for the API keys tab over here, and you create a new API key. After you create an API key, remember that this key is only going to be visible to you once. Remember to copy it, put it on a notepad or something or somewhere secure, and make sure to always, which one did I just create? This one. And make sure to always keep it in secret. Because if someone has access to your API key, they're using your credits. And once you have that set up, you go back to your NanoBanana edit page. And in the API section, look for submit a request. This is how you submit a request. So we're going to ignore all of these because we already added the authorization with our fal AI API key. And in the data section, you're just going to drag and select this section over here, copy this, and make sure to select send body And in the parameters, using JSON, and then go ahead and select this. Now, we're going to go back to our HTTP request. And this is what it'll look like. You'll have your prompt. So this is what it should look like inside your HTTP request. Just go ahead and copy this. Go back to this section, paste this over here, and you have your, make sure that this is using prompt 1. So over here, you'll notice that the prompt is, and then the variable, which is prompt 1, we drag and drop that over here. The product is always in the first image, and the model is always in the second image. Change the model's clothes and pose to match the overall aesthetic. And the image URLs, the first image is going to be always your model image. Sorry, the product image. And the second image is always going to be your model image. We pass that over to file.ai. You execute the step, and then it creates an image. And you have to then wait to get the image available to download. So that's what this wait node does. It waits for 5 seconds, checks the status. And for checking the status, there's another API request that we just use, is this one over here. You go to the API docs and check status. Or just go over here and fetch a request status. You go ahead and copy this URL. And paste it into your URL over here. Replace this request ID with the request ID that's actually coming in from the HTTP request over here, so that that's the request ID it actually fetches the status for. Remember to use your credentials that you set up for file.ai, because it will need authorization to access the URL that you're giving it. And once it keeps checking the status, once it checks the status and notices that it's still not completed, this if section actually takes care of that. If the status is equal to completed, then move forward to the next step. Otherwise, loop back to wait, check the status again. If the status is not completed, loop back again, and keep doing that until the status has been changed to completed, so that you can actually get the result. To get the result, you use another API key from file.ai, which is this one over here. You do the same thing. You copy this section over here, paste it into this URL, and you replace the request ID with the same request ID that you got from the HTTP request, which was creating the image in the first place. It keeps to, and then it moves on to the next step, which is basically uploading the images to Google Drive. It shares the link. It doesn't download the link. It shares the link. And that link is then moved to the next API request, which is our upscale image. To upscale the image, we're using another model on file.ai, which is Recraft. And what the Recraft API basically does is, let's just go ahead and look for Recraft on file.ai. Recraft Crisp is the API that we're using. And what this basically does is, the image that you produced from your NanoBanana API isn't going to be the best when it comes to zooming it in, because it's going to be limited in the pixels. So the Upscale API actually takes care of upscaling the image to blow it up, to make it better, to zoom in and actually make the image crispier. I don't know. And that's the API that we use over here. So to do that, just go to the API section. You're going to use the same API key that you generated for file.ai. And that's really why file.ai shines. You're able to use the same API to access all these different models on their platform. And to submit a request, you do the same thing. You basically set up your authentication for file.ai. You send a body request as a JSON using this JSON. the image URL, this variable over here, is actually the image that we uploaded to Google Drive to begin with. And okay, so that's fine. The upload image, this is the image that you use. You just drag and drop this web content link over here and then execute the step. And then you do the same thing. You loop over the wait period to get the result back from the API. After it notices that the API has generated the image, it moves on to the next step, which is the get result. And by the way, you're going to use an HTTP request over here to check the status, similar to what we did with NanoBanana. But in this case, we're going to use the API from Recraft. And to fetch the request status, you just use this API. You replace this URL over here and then the request ID that you got from the initial HTTP node and move that forward. And in the get result, you're going to use the get result API, which is, that's the one that you use for fetching the status. And this is the one that you use for fetching the actual result. Once you fetch the result, the next thing that you want to do is you actually want to download the image. And to download the image, you just pull in the URL that you got from the previous node into your get request. Make sure that the method is set to get, and you'll see the image over here. So just like over here where you see lifestyle shoot image 1 upscaled, this image you'll notice is around 10 MB, and the original image was 64 KB. So you see the difference. A 64 KB image versus a 10 MB image will be drastically different in quality. And then you can download this image, use it in your creatives, make a video out of it. If you want to send the image to an AI image to video model through Fal.ai, you could use VO3, you could use Kling AI. Really, the options are all there on Fal.ai. And that's how you automate this whole thing. You create a prompt, you upload your images, you create a prompt over here, and then you send that prompt to all of these 4 image pipelines. The image is generated through Fal.ai. It's then sent over to your Google Drive, and then it's upscaled using Recraft. It's then uploaded to your Google Drive. That's all there is to it. You basically created an entire photo shoot using just one image of a product and one image of a model, without having to go through the pains of sourcing a location, looking for a model, paying for the location, camera equipment, and everything else that goes in between, because I'm imagining that doing a complete photo shoot is a pain. You did this whole photo shoot in less than 3 minutes. Now, we created 4 images, but you could create 10, 20, 30, 40 images. Just duplicate the workflow or the pipeline for creating the actual image and upscaling it to the number of images that you want, and you're good to go. If you found any sort of value in this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. I have left a link inside the description where you can download this entire workflow and use it for your own use cases. And I'll see you in the next one.